I'm Chris Charla, and I'm the director of ID at Xbox for Microsoft.
Okay, so to start, what are the criteria that you're looking for when you're looking to get a game onto ID at Xbox? What's your ideal ID at Xbox game?
I guess for us, the ideal ID at Xbox game is a game a developer wants to make. One thing that's been really cool is we look at the 12 games that are out so far, and for me personally, as I look forward over kind of the next 6 months, I've got an idea of what's going to be coming out. I look at the diversity of games that are coming, and I honestly feel like, okay, I couldn't have curated that diversity better if I was going out and hand-picking the games. And so I think it's just kind of a testament to the awesome diversity of developers that we're seeing, that we're seeing like such a cool diversity of content coming to ID at Xbox.
Okay, so Microsoft were at the forefront of indie on consoles with XBLA a few years ago. It feels like in the interim they maybe lost some of that edge. Do you think that ID at Xbox can see a resurgence? You were talking in Brighton, you referenced it actually, the fact that games like Castle Crashers, they spearheaded and Jonathan Blow's game, they spearheaded indie on console. So are you looking for ID at Xbox to kind of rekindle that drive?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that drive ever went away, but certainly I think that Xbox Live Arcade on Xbox 360 was amazing and like ushered in some of the greatest games of the generation and kind of really, kickstarted what I would call the golden age of indie. Starting with kind of Braid and Castle Crashers back in 2008, and I really hope that ID at Xbox can be the spiritual successor to XBLA in that way, and that we have this awesome, sustainable ecosystem for developers where they can have a lot of success. And then on the flip side, that players, when they turn on their Xboxes, can see like this huge array of super awesome, interesting different games.
Okay, so one of the interesting things about the indie space at the moment is different funding techniques that are being used. So I'll start with early access. Early access at the moment on Steam, a lot of the top games are funded in that way. Is that something that you're looking to introduce? How difficult is it? Talk me through Microsoft's attitude towards early access.
Yeah, so early access on Steam has been really interesting. It's not for every game, but I think for the right kind of game, it really makes a lot of sense. And if you look at, the canonical example was Minecraft, where it was released well before 1.0 and was a huge success before 1.0. We don't have anything to announce about early access today, but certainly we've talked to developers about it, and developers, seem really interested in it. And, we're always interested in listening to our developers and having good dialogue about it.
As a follow-up to that, this is going to sound like a strange question, but why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't that be an easy decision to make?
Well, we have a great ecosystem on Xbox One, and we want to make sure that we continue to have a great ecosystem for developers on Xbox One. So while we're always open to changes and looking at changes and making sure we're staying with the market, before we do anything, we want to make sure we're doing things the right way. So, certainly we're talking to developers, we're listening to developers, we're always listening to developers and thinking about ways we can evolve our program, but nothing to announce today.
Okay. How would you define your lineup of games compared to Sony's? From the outside, it seems like Sony seem to be chasing established PC hits, where Microsoft seem to be looking for newer experiences. That's not a black and white cut, but that seems to be a thing. How do you define your different approach? Not in finding developers, but in the games that are out there.
Yeah, it's a hard question to answer because we really are focused very much on Xbox One and, what works for Xbox One and what developers want to come to Xbox One. So we kind of don't define our approach in terms of anybody else. We really just look at what we're doing. If it's an observation that you've made, that's an interesting observation, but it's not something that we think about. We just want to make sure that players have have access to a huge variety of content, and I think we're seeing some really cool games that are going to be coming first to Xbox One, like Cuphead from Studio MDHR, or Lovers in a Dangerous Space-Time, or iDarb. Like, those are things that we get really excited about, these kind of unique experiences. There's a game coming called Night Squad from a studio called Chainsawsome, which is a really neat top-down 8-player non-scrolling one-screen kind of combination of Gauntlet and Bomberman that I think is going to be just bonkers. And so we're just really excited about the games that we have coming.
Related to that, at GDC, Phil Spencer was talking about Xbox One perhaps becoming like iOS in the amount of titles that you've got coming onto the system and the openness of it. That obviously creates a completely different ecosystem than we've ever had on a console before. Is that the direction that you're going in, or are you looking for a more curated space? Where do you see the future of ID at Xbox in that regard?
Well, we have a ton of great developers in ID at Xbox making a ton of great games, and they're all going to be sold in our marketplace together with every other game. It's kind of one of our core beliefs at Microsoft that a game is a game is a game. In terms of where the platform's going, how it's evolving, the one thing I think back to is I remember my original Xbox 360 that I got on launch day with the blades, and I remember where Xbox 360 ended up like this just this past summer with looking like Windows 8 and having really intricate dashboard and a lot going on. And I know that Xbox One is going to evolve the same way. And I think as much as I loved the Blades days on Xbox 360 with Geometry Wars and everything, I love my 360 today. And I think, Microsoft did a really good job on that. It's before I was there, so I can give credit to Microsoft. And I hope we do as good a job on Xbox One moving forward into the future with all the awesome changes that are going to happen in the game industry.
There's been some confusion regarding every Xbox One can be a dev kit. Can you clear that up for us, please?
Yeah, sure. I think there was an official statement yesterday, and it's still our vision that every Xbox One players will be able to develop games on. There's nothing further to add today to that.
Release date parity is another talking point for ID at Xbox. What can you tell us about the current situation?
Well, as policy, Microsoft doesn't comment on its publishing policies publicly, so it's not something I can talk about publicly, sorry. But if a developer has a question, they can just get in touch, and we're happy to have a really deep conversation with them about it.
What's your favorite game coming up for ID at Xbox?
It is really hard to pick a favorite. We have a lot of cool games coming. I can probably tell you my favorite game per week. The one that I would say people should get an eye on, just because I don't think a lot of people have seen it yet, is Night Squad from Chainsawsome. It's just a really fun game, and it's a really good crew of developers up in Canada, working out of one of their mother's basements, literally, and making something that I think is really special. So hopefully people will check it out.